Hi there, I'm Donovan, author of the book Invest in Yourself, and I'm here to tell you that it's absolutely imperative that you put yourself first and even be a bit selfish at times. Here's why. When you invest in yourself first and foremost, you maximize your life and end up with more energy, vitality, prosperity, and love to share with others. The alternative is to put other things in life ahead of yourself and essentially let yourself go and maybe even become a burden to the very people that you want to give to and help. You may end up all broke in more areas than one in life, but not on my watch. I'm here to share some personal investment strategies with you that is going to make this the best year of your life and put you on the path to the dreams and goals and success that you desire. So enjoy my following Invest in Yourself pep talk and have a brilliant life.
He is a pioneer in spreading health, happiness, and success to everyone through his workplace wellness programs and individual coaching. Sean is also a published author who wrote a book on health and happiness. Tonight, Sean will demonstrate how to invest in yourself as he shares some of his personal investment strategies that are sure to make 2013 the best year of your life. So Sean, come on up. Give Sean a big
guys. What a wonderful day, huh? It's a pleasure to be here. Hey, tabletoppers, I know you guys are holding down the front there. Why don't you come on in and join us for now and fill in the tables. We're going to do a little bit of interaction, so it'd be better to have you guys over here. So how's everybody doing tonight? Yeah. I've got a question for everyone. Who wants to make 2013 the best year of their lives? Yeah. Maybe you guys didn't hear me. I said, who wants to make 2013 the absolute best year of their lives? Anybody want 2013 to be the absolute worst year of their life? Just check. Who set some goals for this year? Show of hands. They set goals this year? How about last year? Anyone set goals last year? Who accomplished all the goals they set last year? Show of hands. Some of the goals they set last year? Any of the goals they set last year? We're going to start off tonight. We're going to do a little interactive exercise. So here's how it's going to work. When I say go, we're all going to stand up and we're going to do a little bit of interaction between us, okay? So I want you to think about your most important goal for 2013. I'm going to think that over for a second. Now what I'm going to challenge you to do is, I'm going to challenge you to go and interact with 3 different people that you might not know, or might not know that well. And here's what I want you to do. In 30 seconds time, I want you to state your name, your business, and your most important goal for 2013. Now if you don't have a goal in mind, it's no problem. You're going to share your value proposition. And what is your value proposition? It's simple. You answer 3 questions with your value proposition. Who you are, what you do, and why you do it better or best. Okay, so you're going to share for 30 seconds, your partner's going to then share for 30 seconds, and in a minute we're going to switch. And we're going to do this 3 times. Okay, everybody with me? All right, let's stand up and shake it out real quick. And let's go. All right, so you guys must have enjoyed that, huh? Is that some good interaction? Did you meet some people you didn't know? Maybe learn a few things about some people you didn't know? So, what did we just do, folks? Just networked a little, interacted, got out of our comfort zone a little bit maybe, but we talked about our goals. So, what was the point of that exercise? What was the underlying point? Anybody want to take a stab? A bit of affirmation, maybe. Yeah, talking about your goals. Julie? Defining your goals. Who said intention? Yes, there you go, Phyllis. When you talk about your goals, you set an intention. And when you talk about your goals, first you have to what? You have to think about it. And when you think about your goals, those thoughts start to lead toward actions that lead to the accomplishment of the goal, right? So what was the second thing we accomplished by sharing those goals with each other? Connecting with people, sure.
Learn new ones.
Yes, absolutely. Accountability. That's what I was looking for. When you put yourself out there, when you share those goals with others, you now become accountable. So any of you are liable to possibly run into one of these people you just shared your goal with at the grocery store throughout the year, and I give you permission to call each other out and say, hey Bob, how you coming on writing that book? Or how are you coming on, Jane, on losing that weight? So we're now accountable. So the point is, the more we talk about our goals, the more we think about our goals, the more likely we are to take action about our goals. And the more we're talking about our goals to other people, the more we're making ourselves accountable to those people. So think about that. So for any of you who set goals for 2013, let me ask you, did anybody set a goal to become selfish this year? Anybody bold enough to raise their hand? Brenda?
I'm already there.
Josh? Yeah, we just wrapped up the holiday season, all about giving, right? Well, when's it time for us to start receiving, right? When's the abundance going to show up? So the point of tonight is I'm going to implore you to become selfish. Not only going to give you permission to become selfish, I'm going to tell you it's imperative to become selfish. Now, before you dismiss this concept with your preconceived notions about what selfishness is, I want you to just open your mind, because I'm going to give you 5 what I call personal investment strategies that are going to validate and illustrate why being selfish and investing in yourself is so important. Fair? Can we open our minds for the next 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So I've worked with hundreds of individuals and professionals just like you through coaching and through wellness programs, and I've got a pretty good handle on the challenges and needs that people have. Everything from weight loss to positivity, dealing with divorce, unemployment, stress reduction, anti-aging, disease prevention. These are all popular topics. Does any of those strike a chord with anybody? Could anybody use at least one of those things in their life? So tonight, we're going to take the first step in tackling all of those challenges with one action item tonight. That's going to be to invest in ourselves. Because folks, let me just paint the picture for you. I mean, imagine how great it would feel to turn the hands of time back 10 years. Right? How about to take away some pain? Maybe mental, physical, or emotional? Or how about finally lose that excess weight, wear some clothes maybe you haven't worn in a decade? Or how about increasing your earnings this year, 10, 20, or even 200%? Does that interest anybody? Yes. Well, it's all possible, and it's all interrelated, and it all boils down to one thing, and that's personal investment, investing in yourself. So, before I start into my investment strategies, let me just apologize to you guys in advance. I'm on my 6th day of a juice fast today. So, thank you. So for those of you that don't know what that means, basically for the last 6 days, nothing has crossed these lips except for air, water, fresh squeezed juice, and my words. So if I seem a little bit loopy or wacky or off the wall or forgetful up here, that's going to be my excuse, and I'm sticking to it, okay? So, why in the world would I do that? Well, I can tell you that, believe it or not, and I have a witness in here that will testify, but I am actually 15 pounds lighter than I was on New Year's Eve. True or true, Leah? 15 pounds later, I have an incredible amount of energy, clarity, and focus, and it's a very powerful experience. It's something I've been doing for the last 18 years, and something I do throughout the year and quarterly, these little short cleanses. But we're not going to digress too much into that. But why in the world, you're probably thinking, why would somebody do that to themselves? Why would somebody deprive themselves of 6 days worth of eating? And believe me, it's a challenge, and especially this beautiful spread that Charlene's put out over there, a lot of veggies and fruits. Oh, absolutely killing me. So, in order to fully explain to you why I would do this, I'm going to have to go back in my history a little bit. and many of you know me, some of you are getting to know me. Is it okay if I share a little bit about myself with you guys and get a little personal?
Sure.
Thank you. Well, I was born and raised in Richmond, Virginia. I spent 35 years of my life there until I moved to Florida about 3.5 years ago. And for the first 21 years of my life, I was sad, or raised on the standard American diet, as I call it. I was raised on meat and potatoes. If it was green, it was not going in my mouth, period. I was very set in my ways, I was very closed-minded, and I hadn't really experienced any health crisis up to that point. But right around the age of 21, some very incredible things happened in my family very close to me. On my mother's side of the family, I watched 3 members of my family get cut wide open from here to here, including my mom, and lose part or all of their colon. In fact, my grandmother lived the last decade or so of her life with no colon at all. She had a colostomy bag. And for those of you that don't know what that is, I won't get graphic, but basically you wear a bag the rest of your life, and that is how you eliminate. And that's a fate that I would not wish on my worst enemy. In addition to the colon problems, I've got 2 type 2 diabetic parents, both overweight. My father's had 2 knees and a big toe joint replaced over the last few years. Extremely painful surgeries. It's killed his golf game, Todd. You might need your help. Where's Todd? And heart disease, my family, ovarian cancer. The list just goes on and on. And it scared the life out of me. It was a very strong motivator for me to do something different. And what's interesting was I started to observe my lifestyle, my parents' lifestyle, my grandparents' lifestyle, my aunts and uncles, and all these other people that are having the problems. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks one day. We were all doing the exact same things. They weren't necessarily the best things. So I started to really think, like, maybe there's a lot more than just heredity that affects us. It's the habits that we inherit. So I knew I needed to make some changes. I just did not know what to do. I was totally clueless, and at 21, I thought I was Superman, but my world was crumbling around me. And the worst part was I wanted to help all my family members, and I didn't want to watch them suffer. And then it was almost a miracle. Just as I wished for help, it arrived in the form of my cousin Joe. Now, cousin Joe was the only one in our family that actually left Richmond and even the state of Virginia. He moved down to North Carolina, near Charlotte, long before I was even born. So I saw him every other year or so at holidays, and I always admired the guy, but I didn't know much about him. And he came out of the woodworks one day and he said, "Sean, look," he goes, I'm in my late 50s, early 60s at that time, and he said, I've managed to avoid all these health problems that my sister and my mother and your mother and all these other people have. And he said, if you're open and receptive, I'd like to share some secrets with you. I said, oh my God, it's a godsend. And at the exact same time that Joe started sharing with me, a good friend of mine who I lifeguarded with in Virginia Beach, this guy was a cross-country runner, All-American at JMU, and this guy would smoke us all every morning at PT training. I mean, he'd go out and warm up with a 5-mile soft sand beach run barefooted, and then kick all of our butts at PT afterward in 100-degree heat. So one day I happened to be on the lifeguard stand with him. I said, John, how do you do it? What's your secret? I see you out late at night as well. And he said, I don't like to talk about it. I'm kind of funny about it because I've been ridiculed all my life. And finally I pried it out of him. He was raised by vegan parents. He'd never had meat or dairy in his whole life. He lived a very clean lifestyle, and that allowed him to operate at a very high level. And the guy was he was a genius on top of being a great athlete. So, I'm looking at Joe here, he's in his 60s, who has the skin of a 20-year-old, and here's my friend my age that I definitely connected a lot more to, and they both simultaneously, unbeknownst to each other, put out the same challenge to me. They challenged me to go raw for 21 days, all raw fruits and veggies. And I took their challenge, I did it, and I tell you, I felt so good, I didn't ever want to go back. So I'm about 80% raw now. I've been 100% vegetarian for 18 years, and I feel like $1 million, and I've managed to avoid all the health problems in my family. So, I'm not up here to preach you guys to become vegetarian or anything like that. This is not what this meeting's all about. But I want to ask you, by a show of hands, how many in this room have kids? Most of you. I do too. I have a 17-year-old daughter, and that's how I landed here in Ormond Beach. Do your kids always listen to you?
No.
No, right? but I can guarantee they always watch you. Always watching. And a picture's worth a million words sometimes, right? So our kids are watching what we do. Now I'm sure all of us want our kids to have a better life than us, right? And certainly we want our children to outlive us. I think one of the greatest tragedies would to have to bury a child. So folks, here's my challenge to you. If you want your kids to have a better life, then make your life better first and lead by example for them. This takes me to my investment strategy number 1, and that is to seek wisdom. Educate yourself. We don't know what we don't know. I knew I needed to make changes when all these health problems were going on in my family. I had no idea what to do. And then all of a sudden this wisdom came in the form of coaching and mentoring from Joe and John. And that was powerful. It literally changed the direction of my life. And I'm pretty confident that I would have gone down the exact same road as the rest of my family. So information is free these days. We have no excuse. I mean, gosh, what did we do before Google? I can tell you what I did. I called Grandma. Grandma, how do you fix this? Grandma, how do you do this? That was my Google a decade or 2 ago. But here's the interesting thing. When you're Googling and when you're researching online, trust your sources. Just last week, I read an article, maybe some of you have seen, it's been on the news too, about how overweight people actually outlive normal weight people. And the first question that came to my mind was, who the heck funded that study? Pillsbury? Nabisco, maybe? So trust your sources when you're looking online. But educate yourself. Turn your vehicle into a mobile university. I have a whole library of audio CDs. So whenever I'm driving any kind of distance, I'll pop a CD in. I think I wore out my Tony Robbins cassettes back in the 80s and 90s. T. Harv Eker, who founded Peak Potentials, is one of my favorites. Attend seminars, webinars, read books, everything you can do, because the more knowledge you can get, guess what? The more power you're going to have, and the more educated you're going to be when it comes to making good decisions or bad decisions. So Cousin Joe spent literally hundreds of hours coaching and mentoring me over the last 18 years, all for free. So I kept asking Joe, how can I pay you back? What can I do for you? He said, Sean, the best thing you can do, and by the way, Joe trained with Paul Bragg in Hawaii back in 1968. So if anybody knows who Paul Bragg is, he's the father of the modern health food store. Bragg's amino acids, Bragg's apple cider vinegar. So I got 2 degrees of separation from the great Paul Bragg there. So I asked Joe, how can I repay you? And Joe said, Sean, just take the information and pass it along to others that may or may not be in need. So here I am, folks, and it feels great to share that wisdom that's been gifted to me. So I've managed to avoid all the chronic health problems in my family, but none more shocking than the fact that my younger brother had a stroke at age 24. And it's a crazy story. My sister-in-law was leaving the house, running out the door to go to work one morning, and from the bathroom she heard a thud. And something told her to go back. It could have been my brother dropping the soap in the tub or shower or whatever. And something told her to go back. She goes back, opens the bathroom door, and there's my brother, face down, pants around his ankles. He had a stroke while sitting on the john. Kind of joking a little bit. I'm like, what a crappy situation, no pun intended. But I make light of the situation because he's okay. But when I got the call and I heard the news, I was horrified, but honestly, folks, I was not surprised because I had actually predicted the situation just a couple weeks prior. We were living in Virginia Beach at the time. I was right down the street from him. We had plans to paddle out and do a little surf session that afternoon. So I walked into his house and I walked into a hornet's nest. And he was on this phone conversation just giving somebody hell. And after sitting there and listening a few minutes, I realized that he was on the phone with a home inspector. Any realtors in the room? Yeah, dreaded home inspector call. And this home inspector apparently was just ripped the property apart and was about to kill $1 million deal he had under contract. My brother was letting this guy have it. And I'm sitting there looking at him. He's red in the face. I can see every vein in his forehead and neck. And so I reached down, turned a little reggae music on, and tried to find my calm. So finally, he wrapped the conversation up, and we went down to the beach, and the whole walk to the beach he's going on, paddling in between waves. He's still, just bitching about this home inspector. And finally, I grabbed him. I said, Laney, you got to let it go, man. It's going to kill you. And then a couple weeks later, he's face down, he spent the next 6 months on his back, relearning fine motor skills and learning how to talk out of one side of his face. Now he's pretty much fully recovered now. It changed his life, but he slowly reverted back to his old ways, and I keep reminding him. So this takes me to investment strategy number 2. Keep your priorities in check. Don't forget about what's truly important in life. And like I like to say, remember the why. When you remember why you're working so hard, why you're working on that deal, then the house just seems to get easier and the stress seems to magically melt away. And my brother got a second chance, but a lot of people don't. And at 24, I mean, that was just an eye-opener to me, and it definitely taught me to keep my stress in check. I mean, we only live once, right? And not to be Donnie Downer, but I've got another little bit of a sad story to share with you guys to illustrate just how precious life is. In my former life and career, I was also a realtor and a contractor up in Richmond, Virginia. And I managed a property management company, and I had a clerical and leasing staff of about 11 people. And we were hiring for a new leasing agent. And when Kathleen walked through the door of my office in response to a help wanted ad, I knew right away this was a woman that I had to work with. I mean, she could light up a room. She was one of the most cheerful people. I never saw her without a smile on her face. Everyone loved this woman. I mean, she just brightened the office. She was the confidant that people went to. And she got there early, she stayed late, whatever it took to get the job done. People just loved her. But there's one thing about her, her sales volume was just horrible. I mean, the other leasing agents were running circles around her. But Kathleen taught me something. It's not always about quantity. It's more important, it's about quality. Because where these other leasing agents are just running paper mills, lease after lease after lease, there's always a problem with every single one of their deals. And me as the broker and manager, I was always having to chase after them. We had complaints that move in and just lots of problems. Well, guess what Kathleen's new tenants did? I would say 70% of them went out of their way to write letters of praise and recognition to her. I never had a problem with any of her paperwork. I mean, this woman was phenomenal. So one day we're having a sales meeting, getting ready to have a sales meeting. Kathleen comes into the office with a little bit of a limp, and I immediately noticed it, and I called her out. I said, Kathleen, what's going on with your leg? And she shrugged it off. She said, I probably slept on it wrong last night. I'll be fine. So we had our meeting, and she went on about her day, showing second and third floor apartments in 120-year-old buildings with no elevators. So at the end of the day, when she came to turn her key box in, she was literally dragging her leg. And I said, oh my God, Kathleen, what happened? I had completely forgotten about her limp. And she said, yeah, I'm gonna go get it checked out, don't worry. So once again, I kind of put it out of my mind, and next morning I get a call at 6 a.m., and it's Kathleen. And she's a little stressed and concerned and freaking out. It's the first time I heard it in her voice, and she's not stressed out because she's in a hospital with total paralysis in her leg. Nope. She's stressed out because she's worried and wondering who's going to show her apartments that day to all of her appointments. And I said, Kathleen, don't worry, I got this for you. So I took all her appointments and ran with it during the day, and then when the workday was over, I grabbed one of my other leasing agents, and we went to the hospital to visit her, and right away I knew something was wrong because they had admitted her in a room. She wasn't in the ER. So we walked in, and she's laying in the bed, and with the biggest, cheeriest smile on her face, she proceeds to tell us that she is now embarking on her second battle. And none of us had any idea that she had fought a first battle. None of us had any idea that she was a breast cancer survivor, that she had had a double mastectomy at age 32, chemo, radiation, clean bill of health from the medical field. 4 years later, it comes back in the form of a limp. Within 24 hours, paralysis. 90 days later, Kathleen was gone. And folks, I'm telling you, it was one of the worst things I've ever seen a human being go through. And it taught me something too, that health is not just a personal thing, because it affected our office. I mean, we might as well have locked the door for those 90 days because nobody could get anything done. Our residents, I mean, everybody was just affected. And I'm not a big crier. I don't cry very often in my life. I'm very good at dealing with emotions and releasing sorrow in other ways, but I gotta tell you, I cried my eyes out the last time I saw her. I saw her the night before she died. And I decided I was going to find the silver lining in that cloud. I wanted so bad to help her, but there was nothing I could do at that point. It's just so rapid. But I made up my mind I was going to do everything I could to make a difference in other people's lives from that day forward. So I wrote a book, I dedicated a chapter in that to her, and she really is one of the main reasons that I became a speaker and I'm doing what I'm doing. And I tell you, just the thing that struck me as so incredible was just her ability to still remain positive, in the face of her own imminent mortality like that. I mean, it's just, the night before, she was all she could do to muster a smile, but it moved me. So, takes me to my investment strategy number 3. And folks, that is to make time and make it count. Time is so precious. We never know when our time is going to come. So you only live once. And I challenge you to be very cognizant of how you spend every minute of your day. Treat every minute of your day like it could be your last. Imagine how productive and how good we would be if we really lived with that mindset. Stick to things that you set out to do. Manage your time wisely. You know how many times we get sucked into that black hole known as Facebook? And I'm the first one to admit I love it. And technology is great, but it can also be a nemesis. We're fortunate to have a great technologist in the room here. Josh, raise your hand, please. Yeah. So, Josh, can people use technology, especially mobile technology, to become better at time management and scheduling?
Sure can.
Absolutely. So we all carry around these things like smartphones, and now Corrine's got a nice Samsung Galaxy tablet as well. So, with all these distractions, we also have all these great tools to use our resources. So I'm going to challenge you later on in this program to spend your time a little bit differently, part of your day. Is everybody going to be up for that challenge later, maybe? Okay. So, be selfish with your time, because it is the most precious thing in the world, your time and your health. And when you become selfish with your time and you maximize your own life, then guess what? You're going to be more productive, which means you're going to have more to give. You're going to be healthier and have more energy and be able to make a better influence on your kids and those around you. And the alternative is to not take care of yourself, to put everything else first, let your own health go, and then guess what? You're going to become a burden to others, or you're going to just devastate others if you're sick or gone, right? So there was a time, not too long ago in fact, where I let myself go, believe it or not. Nothing wounds the soul quite like heartbreak and financial stress, especially when they happen at the same time, right? So I went through a major relationship change about the same time that the economic crisis started. And it really impacted my businesses hard. And I'm going through this breakup. I got dumped by someone that I really love, and my businesses are folding. I'm laying off employees. And I couldn't help but think that it was all related somehow. So it really put me at one of the lowest points in my life. And there was a period of time that I remember I didn't sleep for about 3 or 4 days. And I was a nervous wreck. I was figuring out how to make payroll, and I got all this chatter in my ear about my ex-girlfriend, and it was a rough time. Wasn't eating, all the things that I knew I should be doing. And I was dealing with my stress in one positive way. I was going to the gym and I was getting some great workouts to blow off that steam. So I was at Gold's Gym one night and finished up a great workout. And I always like to finish my workouts in the sauna. So I'm in the sauna about 160, 170 degrees, and all of a sudden something happened. Everything closed in on me. I got tunnel vision. My ears started ringing. I could hear my own heart beating, and I was about to hit the floor. But I had the wherewithal to get out of the sauna quickly, got into the shower, sat in the cool tile floor of the shower, and just let the cold water run on me. And I recollected, my thoughts and my senses. I got dressed in the locker room, and I remember walking out to my truck in the parking lot. And this is probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. The next thing I remember was waking up in a pile on the hardwood floor of my kitchen floor. Garage door was wide open. Somehow I had managed to drive 3.5 miles from the gym back to my house, squeeze my huge truck into a small garage. I wouldn't leave my garage door open in the middle of the day for a minute. I had $40,000 worth of tools in there, and I live downtown Richmond. And here's the door wide open at 4 in the morning, but I didn't care about those tools so much. And I sat on the couch, I remember I just sat there and I shaked, and I started wiggling my fingers and my toes, and I'm trying to figure out what happened. I was like, wow, did I have an anxiety, panic attack, a stroke like my brother, a heart attack? And my pulse was racing like crazy. And I did some breathing exercises and I calmed down, and after about an hour I figured out I was okay. And that moment really was a pivotal point and changed my life. It reminded me of the situation my brother had years ago. And I said, you know what, I've got to do some things different. I don't belong in that floor ever again. I'm never going to let myself get to that point. So it was that point in time where I realized that I myself had developed cancer. I was surrounded by all this negative energy and all these naysayers and all these people saying, cancer, cancer, cancer. You can't do that, sir. You can't survive this economy, the business model you have. You can't save that relationship. All this negative energy had caused this cancer in me. And that was my wake-up call right there on the floor. So, I asked myself, like, what's the answer here? You know, I called Cousin Joe. He's the first person I covered. You know, let me tell you, I've dealt with heartache, so we had a lot of long talks, and that was good, but you know, this was my problem. I really had to deal with this. It was my wallet, it was my heart. And so I really started digging deep. I said, where are the answers here? Who do I listen to? Who's the expert? And then it hit me one night. I realized, like, I'm the guy I'm supposed to listen to. I know all these things that I should be doing. I know these truths. I have these gut feelings, these instincts. I wasn't listening to myself. I was going against the grain. It was causing a lot of internal conflict. So folks, these stories I'm telling you up here, I mean, they only have the meaning that you give it. These are my stories. We all have our own stories. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to tell you anything up here that's rocket science or anything you probably don't even know. You're all intelligent people. My question is, who are you listening to? Are you really listening to yourself and what you really know is right, how you should be spending your time, how you should be eating? And if you were listening to yourself and that gut instinct and that inner voice, would you really truly be where you want to be right now in life? Would you be a lot more likely to be at that point? Yes? This takes me to investment strategy number 4. Watch your language. Bring out the snakes, please. Folks, there's no cursing allowed in life. And we have these dirty little 4-letter words in the English language that just makes me sick to hear them. Just total profanity. If anybody is easily offended, please, I invite you to put your fingers in your ears right now, because I gotta say them, I gotta get them off my chest. All right, ready? Can't. Won't. Don't. How often do we find ourselves saying these negative, disempowering words? I can't live without you. I don't know what to do. I won't be able to go on. Just for a second, what if you could take those dirty little 4-letter words and replace some positive, more empowering words, like could, would, or should? You know, I could meet somebody better. I would be better off. And I should probably move on. Does that sound a little more powerful? What if we substitute those words with even more powerful words like can, will, and do? You know, I can meet the love of my life. And I did, actually, folks. There, D-Love, pretty at me. I will be the best that I can be. And I can do whatever it takes to get to where I want to go in life. So we just handed out a little gift to you. It's called our affirmations cards. Now, these affirmations are some positive words and phrases that I've used through the years of my life, and they've really pulled me through and got me through some tough times in my life. Got me a little creative. You'll see on there, I've coined a couple of my own words, one which is wealth, W-E-L-L-T-H. Well, once again, folks, these are my affirmations. These are my words. So I really want to implore you to go out and create your own little mantras, catchphrases, or affirmations. Maybe if you've got a weight loss goal for this year, maybe your mantra might be something like, I can't wait to lose weight. So when those Oreo cookies are sitting there, your mind is saying, oh, I can't wait to lose weight, I can't wait to lose weight, and it cuts that temptation right down. So we're going to just take a second, we're going to practice the power of positive words. Will you guys do that with me, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so I want you to put your right hand on your heart, and I want you to repeat after me. I can and will do, whatever it takes, to invest in myself, and maximize my life. One more time, just a little bit higher on the energy. Can we do that? Okay. I can and will do, whatever it takes, to invest in myself, and maximize my life. Excellent. Turn to one of your table mates, give them a high five, and say, I can do this.
I can do it.
So the economy changed, my relationship changed, and guess what else happened? I changed. Now I learned to change when necessary, but I never lost sight of my passion, my dreams, and my goals in life. You know, adversity can bring out the best in us or the worst in us. It can crush us, or it can give us the opportunity to overcome a challenge and rise to the occasion, right? So my environment changed out of my control. You know, I thought I could control the world, but the real estate market and the economy said, not in your control. And controlling another person's emotions is that's not a battle you want to fight either. So you know, I learned to adapt and change, and I learned to really truly follow my passion and change my environment. And that's part of what motivated me to move here to Florida. And I stayed positive, and I looked for opportunities. And just magically, I met all the right people. I mean, look around, folks. This, to me, is, I love it. I love being here in Florida, and I love interacting with you guys. And I tell you what, 10, 15 years ago, I would have been terrified to stand up on stage and speak, even to a group of 10 or 15 people. I probably would have crawled under one of the tables and hid. But I knew if I really was going to make a difference in the world and help people avoid health problems and better their lives, I was going to have to get over that. I was going to have to get good at speaking. So here I am. Hey, thank you. So this brings me to investment strategy number 5. What number? 5. Create an environment conducive for a successful life. You know, it's said that if an oak tree had the mindset of a human being, it would only grow to be 10 feet tall. Bring out the seeds, please. So we're handing out just a little gift here from Access to Organics. Now, folks, a seed is full of potential. It knows no limits whatsoever. The seed has the ability to double, triple, quadruple, and even grow to be tens of thousands times its size, right? It's amazing. But what do seeds need to grow and to mature?
Care.
TLC. They need an all-encompassing term. They need a good environment, right? And within that environment, they need some basic elements of life. Anybody, shout it out, anybody know the most basic element of life? I'll give you a hint. Hold your breath until you think of air, right? Air, followed by water, followed by nutrients or food. So, 4 minutes without air, we're in big trouble. We're going brain dead. 4 days without water, depending on your environment, then you're going to start to have some serious problems. Leah, is it possible to go 40 days without food? Yeah. Leah did a 40-day juice fast last. So, air, water, nutrients. And also a clean environment. I mean, that seed is not going to sprout and grow in a toxic environment, right? So we've got to remove the toxicity. And for us, it's both mental and physical. So we have some great resources in our environment here. We have some healthy partners. Dino with Sunsure Insurance over there is a great healthy resource. And we got Yelena with New Ways, environmentally safe products for your home and your body. And Jeremy Longshore with his company doing the saliva testing. And C.W. Reed doing the live blood testing. You can tell a lot about somebody by looking at their blood. And Natural Awakenings, what a great resource for connecting people to these other resources. And access to organics, with their organic produce, all the nutrition in the world you could possibly need, and Lilia with her healing hands, and Terra Aqua Spa. I mean, all these great resources. Our Grow organization and our programs, we're all here to help in this environment. So, if you're in the business of helping people live better lives, no matter what it is, just raise your hand for a second. Now pat yourself on the back and say, I'm doing good for the world. That's awesome. Even when I was a realtor, I told myself that I was helping the world one person at a time realize the American dream. That was my value proposition. And I'm very proud of that. So right location is important, right environment, and I've made a drastic change. And I left all those cancers behind in Richmond. I said, you know what, I can leave my family, it's going to be okay. I can cut the cord, I can leave my friends and make new ones. 900 warm market business prospects, no problem. I'll redo that in a couple of years somewhere else. And I learned something. Palm trees don't grow well in Virginia. But guess what? They flourish in Florida. And I see myself as a palm tree. So plant the right seeds also in life. Don't plant orange seeds and expect to grow apples one day. It's just not going to happen. And guess what our seeds are? Our seeds start with our thoughts. Remember, thinking about the goal triggers the action. So, folks, here's the big sell. You know when you go to a seminar and you're sitting there and you're just thinking, okay, when are they going to sell me something? Of course, most of the time we go to seminars, we get sold something. Even as great as Peak Potentials was, they were selling us on other programs, which were great. But the big sell tonight, here it comes. It's me. And I'm here to tell you, just the very fact that I'm standing here on stage alive and happy and in Florida and following my passion, all this information, all these investment strategies I'm sharing with you, absolutely, positively works. Others, when they get into stressful situations, they may turn to drugs or smoking or alcohol or, God forbid, turn a gun on themselves or turn a gun on others. I mean, what about the craziness that's going on in our world right now? Sandy Hook and Aurora, and I don't want to digress into that, but there's a lot of negativity out there. People need help. People need good resources. People need good environments. So I'm so happy to be able to be here and to share my story with you tonight and potentially help anyone in this room that might just need a little tweak of the dial and just to make their life a little bit better or to launch them to the success that they want to hit in life. So I want to close out tonight with a story that's very near and dear to my heart. Many of you have probably heard the saying, I once cried the blues because I had no shoes, and then on the street I met a man with no feet. Well, this is it's a very true statement in my life. Once again, in my real estate career, I'm rolling around town one day in my mobile office, as I called it, or my truck, and it was just a hectic day. I mean, things were out of control. I was running late to my next appointment because my previous appointment was late. I had also home inspection issues. I had my foreman call me. There's one problem after another. I'm driving. I got a laptop sitting on my armrest. I got my phone. I'm texting with my thumb. I'm driving with my knee. And I'm going through these narrow city streets in downtown Richmond. I pull up to an intersection, and it was a T intersection, a one-way street. And all of a sudden, it just hit me. I was like, how in the hell did I get here? I mean, have any of you guys ever driven any distance? You pull up to a light and you're like, whoa, it's red light. I mean, gosh, did I run the last 10? You just totally spaced out. I mean, folks, I might as well have been drunk driving. I was that all over the place. So I put my blinker on to turn left. That was my only option. And I started to look over my shoulder, and I became aware of how scattered I was. And I put my phone down. I turned to look to see if anything was coming. And as I turned my head, I locked eyes with a gentleman. And this gentleman was a common fixture around downtown Richmond. And unfortunately, it's not uncommon to see a homeless person in Richmond, Virginia, but this particular man was very unique in that he was relegated to a wheelchair. I mean, just imagine how horrible it would be to be homeless and all the challenges that would go along with that, but then to be stuck in a wheelchair on top of it. And he's sitting there under a canopy at the bus stop, right across from me, and he's folding something in his lap, and all his worldly possessions are strapped to the chair. And we just locked eyes, and he gave me the biggest ear-to-ear smile I think I've ever gotten. And I just stopped. I still have my blinker on, the phone's down, and I'm looking at this guy. I'm like, wow, he's looking right at me, and he's smiling. So after a couple of seconds, I kept on through my turn, and I made that turn, and my mind started reeling. That one smile changed my course of action that day and changed the direction of my life. I put my blinker back on again, I rounded the block, I retraced my steps, I went back home. When I was safely parked behind my house, I pulled out my cell phone, I texted everybody I was supposed to meet with the rest of the day, and I told them something important had come up. And I went to my house, and I put my workout clothes on, strapped my running shoes on. And see, I had been stressing out in the back of my mind that day because I was thinking, there's no way I'm going to get a run in today. There's no way I'm going to even make it to the gym today. I got too many estimates and stuff to do. And I tell you, I went and ran down beautiful Monument Avenue on that beautiful fall day. I ran about 7 or 8 miles, barely broke a sweat, hardly lost my breath. I probably could have kept going for it, so don't stop. And when I got home, when I unlaced my shoes, I reached down and I massaged my legs. And I thank God, the universe, my lucky stars that I had legs to massage and I had the ability to run. And I told myself that I was never going to forget the whys again. I was never going to get my priorities out of whack. And that homeless man, that homeless legless man, really, he changed my life. He inspired me. He motivated me. He instilled in me a sense of gratitude in me. And here's a guy, folks, that had no reason in the world to smile at me. Why would this guy be smiling? Let alone at me. He's got a wheelchair. He's got nothing. Everything he had is on his. You know what he had? He had a great attitude. And that man was an inspirational leader, and he doesn't even know it. Just the very fact that I'm up here sharing his story. He lives on now through me to you. I've gone back many times and looked for him. I mean, I saw this guy every couple of months or so. I've not been able to find him since that day. But that's all I needed was that 5-second smile. So here's the bonus personal investment strategy for tonight. Never lose gratitude in your life. One of the first exercises I'll do for a lot of my coaching clients is I'll have them create a gratitude list. I mean, if you're depressed, it doesn't take me long, a few minutes, and we can point out a whole lot of things that you had to be grateful for in your life. Start with your big toe and work your way around. That's 5 right there. And you got a whole nother foot, and then start working your way up. So my question to you is, what are you grateful for in your life? And what are you doing to maximize your life? And what are you doing to inspire and lead others? So I gave you some great info today, folks, and honestly, it absolutely came from my heart. I shared a lot of my personal stories with you. But here's the reality of it. 96% of ordinary people are going to do nothing. They're going to walk out and they might replay a story or two by the time they get home, and maybe tomorrow they've forgotten half of it. Certainly by the end of the month, you forgot all of it, just like your goals and your New Year's resolutions, just like we do every single year. So my question to you is, are you ordinary or extraordinary? Right? So we put out made available an opportunity to you back in November at our Create Your Own Economy event, and we brought in an international speaker. The guy was phenomenal, and then we made some great events available to you just an hour or two away for free. And out of the 153 people that we had at that November event, 40-some signed up and 22 actually went. So those of you that went, was it worth every single minute that we spent together in Orlando? Yes. And I commend you. I mean, you guys deserve that recognition up here. You deserve the opportunity to win that Samsung Galaxy and Cream. Congratulations. And when you take action, you put yourself in opportunity's way. You line yourself up for success. So, bottom line here, 2013 will be the best year of your life because because you intend for it to be, because you say that it will be. And as soon as you set that intention and plant those thoughts in your mind, guess what? You start taking actions. And those intentions come to fruition. Yes?
Yes.
So, I told you I was going to challenge you a little bit to do some things different. So it takes, research says it takes about 21 days to form a habit. How long does it take to break a habit?
2 seconds. 1 second.
1 split second of thought and conviction to say, you know what, I'm just not going to do that anymore. So my challenge for you guys is, there's 1,440 minutes in a day. I want you guys to spend 10 minutes, that's like 0.5% of your day, investing in yourself from this point forward. I mean, is that manageable? Can everybody commit and do that? Raise your hand, please, and say, I can do it.
I can do it.
So I'm going to challenge you to participate in something so we have a little bit of accountability there, so we know who's actually doing it. It was easy to take a head count and roll call at MMI, but you guys are going to leave and go home tonight. I'm not going with you. But actually, I might come home with you guys for the next 21 days. So bring out the love, please. Woo! So right now we're handing out some one-sheets, and these are the personal investment strategies that I just shared with you. So anybody that wasn't taking notes, no worries. You'll have these to take home with you. And myself and Leah and the GROW organization are going to make available to you a special online program called PEP that we have. And believe me, hundreds of hours of heart and soul and a lot of work went into the creation of this program. And it's my pleasure to share it with you guys for the next 21 days. I'm going to give you a great deal on this. There's a high price value on the program, but I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I want to give you a great deal on it. Can everybody create a little bit of budget to change their life for next year? Yes? Okay, how about this? How about, what if I made the price, let's say, I don't know, like free for you guys for the next 21 days? Raise your hand and be honest here. If you will commit to spending 10 minutes a day, 0.5% of your day for the next 21 days to get yourself off and running right in 2013. Raise your hand, please, and say, I'm going to do it. Okay, like Eric Frady from Peak Potential says, we'll see. So here's the deal. At the bottom of the sheet there's some log on information. And tomorrow, probably, it's going to take us a little time to load all you guys in. So tomorrow night, maybe, or Thursday morning, let's say Thursday morning, this program's going to be available. So for those of you that did not sign in when you came in, we need your name, first and last, and email address, because this is going to be your log on. We're not going to spam you or anything like that. This is going to be your log on. You're going to have your own portal into this program. And when you log into the program, there's going to be a video and some bullet points, and then a little bit of accountability in the form of a little validation test. And this is nothing rocket science, just to hold you accountable so we can measure whether or not you're participating or not. So, just so you guys won't wait until the 20th day and then try to cram all the information in, if you miss a day, you're okay. If you miss 2 days, you're okay. If you miss 3 days, then you're done. Because the longest any one of the programs is going to stay up is 3 days. So the first 3 days, you'll have access to all 3. On day 4, number 1 will come down, and so on and so forth. So, this program is going to hit many different interrelated areas in your life, from leadership to personal development to fitness, wellness, exercise. So this is really going to help you get a well-rounded head start for 2013. So who's excited about embarking on this little challenge? Yes. All right, so those of you that take advantage of this challenge and follow through and take that action, you're going to put yourself in a position to maybe get some recognition of your own, maybe even a prize next month, I don't know. But certainly you're going to set yourself up for success in 2013. So, I want you to put your hand on your chest again. Let's do that one affirmation. I can and will do whatever it takes to invest in myself and maximize my life. So turn to one of your table mates, give them a high five, and say, I'm going to do it. And folks, I'm here as a mentor, a trainer, a coach, a friend, an accountability partner. Any resource you need, come to us and let us know. I mean, we've got some great resources in this room, and we're here to help. I mean, together as a team, we're much stronger, right, than just one. So let's do this thing. Let's make a big impact, a big splash in Volusia County this year, both individually and collectively as the Hometown Business Alliance. So thank you for your time and attention tonight, guys.